All right, guys. So the undead have invaded Total War Rome 2. Today, what I'm going to go through is a campaign on the overhaul mod New World. This is a preview, and it's an amazing, interesting, mechanically and visually campaign in which this is, the classic New World campaign. Lots of interesting factions to play: Lydia, Troy, Atlantis, the Amazons, etc. But it's an alternate history in which a disease outbreak is happening in this world, and it starts culminating through different event chains to an undead horde that invades the world. And it's really cool. It's survival mode. It's very kind of reminiscent of Attila. You need to band together across cultures and factions to really survive the rise in disease and the undead that's kind of gaining ground, destroying settlements, creating more armies, and they're really tough to beat as well. And it's a really cool campaign, and the unit rosters look amazing as well. So that's what we're going to do today. Let's dive straight in. All right, so here we are on the campaign. Like I said, we've got a chain of events that begin with the darkness rises. So people are seeing that livestock is growing restless. People are falling ill at a much higher rate. There is fear of a mass outbreak, and the gates of the underworld may have been opened. So there's a really nice bit of context, the story here, leading up to eventually the undead actually invading the world. So that's what we're going to have a look at today. Right now, I have chosen the Atlanteans essentially to play here, just to showcase, and I'm also going to recruit a spy here just to reveal the fog of war. So when the undead horde actually pops up, we'll be able to have a look and see how it's progressing as well. So just to go through a bit of the state of the world, what's happening, what's different mechanically as well. Obviously things are very dark. The gates of the underworld have opened, maybe just as I described. So it's a very dark time in the world. The undead are invading. It's not supposed to look bright and colorful and lovely. It's going to be gloomy and dark, and it's going to get darker and darker as time goes on. The technology tree isn't quite ready and complete either. There's a few things you can actually research, but it's obviously there's a lot more still to be done. So this is being worked on. What you want to go for is physicians, and this unlocks a very unique agent, actually, physicians, which we're going to look at in a few turns as well. But physicians basically help you and your province maintain a high level of health, and health is a new mechanic here as well. It replaces culture. So instead of invading regions and taking over your enemies and spreading your culture to have a high public order and all that, what you want to do is maintain a high healthy populace, essentially, because the less healthy your population is, the more likely a disease outbreak will happen, and you will face a pretty powerful undead horde that, if you're not prepared for, will take over your cities and start recruiting even better undead units depending on the kind of city that it takes over as well. So there are lots of interesting little mechanical changes here that feeds into the context, the narrative of what's happening in the world here. Obviously, like I said, still some work to be done from a tech perspective and other bits here in the mod, but that's how it's looking at the moment. And then, you're playing your usual kind of Rome 2 campaign, building an economy, creating alliances, trade agreements, enemies, you're invading, you're expanding. But at the same time, as you can see, this event is unfolding. This narrative is progressing forward. Now, a turn later, people are falling ill from a kind of a potent disease that's never been seen before. And people are afraid. What's happening here? Following another turn, there's a risk of plague now. So a highly infectious disease is indeed on its way. Squalor is a serious issue. We need to manage our sanitation levels with buildings and reforms during Black Summer. So this is a specific seasonal effect that happens. Plagued regions run a high risk of falling into anarchy or worse. Worse being, the undead actually invading the region. So, all these narrative events are starting to progress very slowly here, and you got to start you have to start to really care about maintaining a healthy population in your regions. So the dead have risen. Word reaches us from a network of scouts that an evil curse has been unleashed upon this region. Reports indicate that the afflicted are the corpses of the recently deceased. And you can actually zoom to the location where the undead have popped up, and you can have a look at this army here. Wow, it's a lot darker actually on this eastern side of the world as well. An undead horde has popped up. This is what it looks like. The unit cards are very unique as well. The general generals of the hordes have very unique, interesting names, and actually different types of generals have different types of abilities as well. So it's kind of leaning into very kind of not quite magical, but very kind of powerful, mythical, and yeah, just different, and obviously, you know, fantasy a little bit as well. But yeah, so this is the undead horde. You've got mincers and butchers and ghoul hordes, swords and spears, and plague white hordes and starved aberrations dogs as well. And we're going to have a quick look at what all this looks like on the battle side as well. But yeah, essentially, they've popped up. They've already taken a region outright. And from here, the undead starts invading the rest of the world. And as they take and conquest more and more regions, more of these cities will pop up with powerful generals and powerful armies as well. And before you know it, the undead begins snowballing the campaign. And like I said, you have to form a coalition of cultures and factions across the whole world to try and stave off and survive this horde, essentially. So that's how the campaign looks like. That's how it's going to play when it's out as well. Maybe the undead comes a little bit later. There's still some balancing, obviously, to be done, how this is going to work out, how the AI reacts as well. There's some AI issues, I think. Sometimes the undead horde can get destroyed quite quickly, or other times it starts snowballing way too quickly. So there's a lot still to be done, obviously. But this is how things look like on the campaign side of things, and it's incredibly fun. Let's go over to the battle side of things now and actually have a look at what the undead horde looks like physically in the battles. Now, before we dive into that, though, I just want to pivot for a moment and talk about how, you know, I've done membership and Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee in the past, but I don't think I've done it well enough. And I want to give back to you guys. If you want to support the channel and me financially as I create content here, and you want to get access to more exclusive premium content that I make specifically for you, then I'm relaunching this and I want you to know about it. This is a new platform called Marquee. There are new tiers here, each that has a very specific piece of value that I want to give back to you depending on the tier that you choose. Commander specifically will get you access to a new monthly mods newsletter where I tell you exactly what kind of updates and progress and sneak peeks that are coming to the mods that you care about. General, where you get exclusive access to interviews and gameplay videos, as well as, you know, everything that the Commander tier gets as well. There's already an interview here where I interview in a sort of like termy podcast with A Howl, the lead developer of RTR Imperium Surrectum, a brilliant mod for Rome Remastered. If you're interested, this is here, and there's more of this coming in the near future as well. And the final tier, faction leader here, is all about being, you know, able to access me, you know, as a Total War player, creator here, playing Total War with me, featuring in my videos, shout outs, personalized messages. It's all about you, and I really want to give back to you as much as possible. So this is now launched and available, and I'm open to feedback. You know, this is brand new. If you don't think things are fair from a pricing perspective, if you want to have a different kind of value, if you have any suggestions to include here as well, I'm always open, and I'm always, you know, willing to change here and give you as much value as possible. So I just want to make this all about you guys. Let me know if you're interested, and do join if you're interested. I have links below in the video description and in the pinned comment in the comments below as well for you to check it out. And if you like it, subscribe and join up, watch the interview, leave me your thoughts and questions and feedback as well. This is brand new for me, so I'm really interested in making this as successful and impactful to you as loyal subscribers as possible. Now back to New World, guys. Here we are on the battles, and what I've done here is I've set up a massive, all the kind of different types of units that you can expect from the undead horde, which we're going to have a look at the moment. And of course, on the other side, a really powerful Amazonian unit roster. So these two armies are going to come up against each other, and I'm going to go through each of these units. So first off, we've got atrocities, and atrocities, basically, as you can tell, they throw huge, massive rocks at the enemy and do tons of damage. This is like the undead artillery unit, basically, and yeah, they do a lot of damage. They're very menacing. These units have incredible little descriptions as well. There's nothing quite like an onager for loosening the enemy's bowels. They've got lovely little abilities, you know, immune to fear. They scare everyone. They're resistant to fatigue. They have a poison round, a flammable round. Like that, there's a lot that these units are all capable of. And, you know, they have to be powerful. If they're going to overcome and snowball the world, essentially, then they need to really be quite menacing and drive the fear in the souls of humanity and civilization, basically. Otherwise, it wouldn't really be a proper undead invasion, would it? So yeah, that's kind of like some of the units here. We've got other units that I'm just gonna push forward and try and get behind. Some of them have very unique roles as well, and they look very different. I think the best part about this kind of unit roster is because it's quite fantastical in a sort of like, you know, disease has come, the undead have come, but how can you make it realistic and narrative and interesting and engaging for the player? It's very, very cool. So what Genesis has done is he's created all these units, but they have specific, very cool roles. You've got the martyred phalanx, you know, just like Leonidas and his companions, the hoplites held, but their fall was inevitable. Now they rise to rejoin the very horde they died fighting against. There's a lot of context to each of these units, and these units look like from different cultures as well. You know, these guys are specifically Greek, but then you've got mincers that have a lot of variety, different types of helmets and weapons and context. You've got units here, immortals that look like from the Far East, and you've got legionary undead as well, defiled oathsworn, and they all have basically a different type of, you know, background that they come from, and there are different units that are a mix of different cultures as well. So there's a lot going on here that I really like, and each of these have very specific roles and effects against enemy units. You've got these guys, abominations, massive warriors that fell and now are just super powerful. You just charge them in there and forget about them, basically. You've got black knights, which are just beautiful, stunning undead cavalry units here, and horse horrors as well. Really cool kind of cav units, basically, and they're just really powerful. Like I would say Genesis has done an incredible job of making sure you've got the undead horde, basically, but they have to steamroll the world, basically. You can't have a very easy time against these armies. So they have to be really powerful, and they really are, and they look amazing. The kind of texture, visual work that the modders are doing to make these guys look properly undead, and the battle kind of atmosphere as well, very doom and gloom, like civilization is falling against insurmountable odds, right? A horde that is massive and powerful, and you have to work together across cultures to hold the line of civilization. Like, you can really feel the desperation, I feel like, against these types of undead units, and I love it though. So yeah, essentially this is quite early days. There's a lot going on here, a lot, you know, that is still being worked on. Obviously balancing is still going to be worked on quite a bit as well. There's obviously, you know, the undead are really powerful, so lots of interesting balancing to be done here. But it's really cool, and this is basically a sneak preview of what's to come. So this is, you know, I'm hugely thankful, Genesis. Thank you for giving me access. There's a lot of really amazing work here on the campaign with mechanics that I think are going to make it really interesting for players. If you're interested in this kind of fantastical alternate history of the world, I really recommend you keep an eye on this, because there's some really cool things happening here. But yeah, that's essentially going to be it for today, guys. This is what the Undead Horde looks like. This is how the campaign is going to be, a little bit of a preview for when it's out. Lots to be done, but I think Genesis is doing an amazing job to bring this sort of Undead Horde to life. Menacing, scary, very powerful. You actually won't, as the player, be able to play as the Undead Horde because it's an emergent faction, and Rome 2 doesn't kind of let you essentially be able to play as emergent factions, really, which is a shame. But I think it's going to be very cool as the player to, you know, pick a faction and band together with other cultures to try and survive the undead. And as you can see here, it's going to be very difficult. I mean, this was a very high tier Amazonian army here, and they're just getting absolutely demolished in less than 10 minutes. So it's a very powerful army. Very cool things that Genesis is doing right now in New World with this campaign. Hopefully it comes out very soon, and when it does, you will be the first to know. If you follow the channel here, I'll be making more videos of this as updates come out, as we know more about the campaign that's going to be coming out here as well. And that's essentially it for today, guys. So I really hope you enjoyed this video and found it informative. If you did, give it a like, drop any thoughts or questions in the comment section below. If you want to keep up to date with the latest updates and progress of this campaign, do drop into the official Discord, which I've linked below in the video description as well. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos just like this, especially this mod. I'll be doing more about New World and this campaign. And finally, you know, if you're interested in supporting the channel directly, you want to get real value, higher quality content out of that, then do consider joining my marquee as well, also linked below in the video description and in the pinned comment. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.